In her book, she says the White House was broken. This after 2 years along a president who wasn't housebroken. But she only realized this after she stopped getting paid to defend it. But like Jake Tapper's book, it's a new genre of Biden tell-alls that should be subtitled, "I had no idea because I'm severely retarded."
Yes, Karine doesn't quite have everything together, despite her big binder and smile. The press room became a straight-up comedy scene as soon as Greg and Megyn entered. Greg was constantly cracking jokes. Karine appeared completely perplexed as Megyn skimmed through the responses like she consumed an excessive amount of coffee. She kept blinking as if someone had finally asked a real question, and then all of a sudden her script fell apart. To be honest, it was both very funny and a little sad.
To the Megyn Kellys of the world, who have literally voted until this last election, which put me over the edge on voting more for Republicans. But literally now I've voted in 9 presidential elections. God, I'm getting old. And I voted, it was 4 and 4 Dems, 4 Republican votes up until I voted for Trump again this last time. So it was 5 Republicans, 4 Dems. I've been a registered Democrat. I've been a registered Republican. And now I've been a registered independent for 17 years. That's what an actual political independent looks like. Not like somebody who worked for 2 Democrat administrations until they got the stank of desperation all over them. And she ran for the hills trying to pretend she knows what independent.
Were a sport in the Olympics. Each and every time, Greg and Megyn would win the gold. This week, they focus completely on Karine, who responds to questions as if they were terrifying monsters. She basically throws them back at reporters, saying, "Here, you handle it," and just hopes that someone else takes the blame.
Applications you gotta fill out.
That's the thing. Or
What, do you think I meant vaginas?
Ew.
Disgusting people. But now everyone says she's incompetent and lazy. You know, after they called me racist for saying that. That's not why I'm racist.
Nope.
Since she never actually responds, Karen's press coverage now feels more like a strange show. In addition, Greg, who is basically the king of funny news, completely roasted her, acting as though it were a bad improv night, and that everyone was laughing at her rather than with her.
But really, they're just jealous. These colleagues also played along with the hoax, saying that Joe was doing 75 one-arm push-ups while finishing the New York Times crossword puzzle all before breakfast. They're just pissed she beat them to the publisher's office and to the bank. I expect to see more of these books because of the lifeboats these rats will use to try and escape the shipwreck of the past 4 years. So KJP is now an independent because apparently pretending to be apolitical sells better than admitting your last job was gaslighting America.
Karine seemed completely disoriented and all over the place, like someone trying to do complicated math, while bees were after her. And Greg made it even funnier by donning his sarcasm hat and making the whole thing a complete and hilarious disaster.
That's how bad the stink is when one of its worst offenders is fleeing this rancid armpit called the Democrat Party. So should we buy her book? Well, only if your family and friends have a sense of humor. It'll make a great gag gift. You know, like fake dog or rubber vomit. Only the stench here.
Megyn came in calm and sharp, as if she were slicing with tiny little words cut from paper, while Greg was out there slamming everything with jokes. She didn't even have to speak up. She simply focused on all of Karine's bizarre statements and expertly dissected each one by one.
And her fans are already sharpening their crayons. And it's just what we need, a tell-all from the woman who spent 2 years telling everyone that Joe just had a cold and not rigor mortis. If the title hadn't already been taken, it should be called Art of the Steal. KJP also says she's leaving the Democratic Party. I say God bless her. Not many people have the patience to wait in a line that long.
Megyn demonstrated how bizarre and fake Karine's routine was by breaking it down like a science experiment, like completely ignorant but political. Additionally, when Karine referred to inflation as a TikTok trend, Greg completely lost it. Then, in a hilarious imitation of her, he said, "She's the only person who can turn a simple question into a long, confusing speech, complete with awkward pauses and meaningless responses."
Jean-Pierre reinventing herself as an independent. This from, it's everywhere, but this is just from the New York Post right up. that she claims she's no longer a Democrat. She's coming out with a book, a memoir, hyping, says the New York Post, a, quote, broken Biden administration. They go on to say that it's a tell-all she's working on now, and it's going to be a look inside. Independent is the name of it. A look inside a broken White House outside the party lines, due in October. Hachette, which is publishing it, says Jean-Pierre did not come to her decision to be an independent lightly.